Hello students, today we are going to discuss digitization and urban governance. This paper facilitates a conceptual clarification of what is digitization, the impact of digitization on urban governance, the flagship program in India which is Digital India program, the evolution of digitization from Jawaharlal Nehru National Rural Urban Renewal Mission to the National Urban Digital Mission, and how digital governance leads to good governance. To start with, digital is another name given to the use of information and communication technology. Digital is not only limited to the internet and computers, but also to mobile phones, artificial intelligence, social networking, blockchains, mobile apps, and much more. In course of time, there has been a tremendous shift in the way ICT, which is information communication technology, has been used. Its focus has been on the shift from simple productivity, improvement, and automation to making life easier, simpler, and connected. Information and communication technology has transformed our lives and work across various sectors, industries, and institutions. Digitization has pervaded all aspects of life. Life is unimaginable without the use of internet and smartphones. Now we are just one click away from anything, any sort of information. This process of digitization got a big boom during the COVID-19 period because at that time everything was shut down and we were all digitally connected with the world in health, shopping, banking, transport, education, work life, etc. The presence of digital technology within urban governance in India is not new. Computerization and the use of enterprise software was encouraged in municipalities throughout the 1990s, followed by various e-governance reforms in the early 2000s. This ranged from centralized policies like the National E-Governance Plan to projects such as the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission and the city and state initiative such as online billing, certification services for citizens, and Geographic Information System, which is GIS, platforms for administration. The Smart City Mission, which is SCM, launched in 2015, gave a substantial and centralized push to digital interventions by choosing 100 cities to create smart solutions for urban governance, planning, and digital infrastructures. These were seen as lighthouse cities expected to create technology-centric solutions that could be emulated by other cities across the country. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has launched a new mission in February 2021, which is the National Urban Digital Mission. The National Urban Digital Mission aims to extend the vision of SCM, which is Smart City Mission, beyond the 100 smart cities to other urban local bodies in the country. The SCM can be seen as a test bed for digitization, lessons from which the NUDM, which is National Urban Digital Mission, carries forward. Therefore, we see these two central policies that push for digitization of urban governance as having a clear overlap of objectives, institutions, and processes. The SCM and the NUDM are also more emphatic interventions in the digitization of urban governance than previous e-governance project. Digitization of urban governance can be understood in three broad ways. First, in the implementation of e-governance tools such as web portals and mobile applications for providing municipal informations, billing services, and certification. Second, in the use of digital infrastructures such as sensors, smart meters, and platforms to monitor and collect data on the city. And thirdly, through datafication, the use of data collection and analysis, algorithm, and artificial intelligence, machine learning, to automate decision making. We consider urban data infrastructure to be any combination of digital assets, processes, and agents that facilitate the flow of data within an urban area. The new juncture in relation to urban data infrastructure has been reached with digital systems such as embedded sensors, general purpose algorithm, Wi-Fi, smartphones, cheap storage, and cloud system. As such, formal city institutions have much greater access to data for the development of policy and administration through other stakeholders are also having increasingly significant hold over data. Now we come to digitization and urban governance, the kind of impact both of them have on each other. Corporate platforms like Apple iOS, Android, accommodation platforms, taxi apps, car companies, logistic companies, etc., possesses valuable data about the city, community, or charity, which political interest groups have data of more sorts and citizens themselves can access and generate data. This newly available data dispersed, widespread and exchanged across numerous platforms and can be utilized by firms that may have had no prior involvement in the governance of the city. Apple, Google, Uber are good examples of such corporations. Data held by these companies, actors concerning movement in the city, might be much more accurate than any similar information owned by local governments. Access to data can then determine who wins a competition for delivering services or who manages a service, and at larger scale, control of how transportation works in any given city. Thus, the role of algorithm in urban life represents a new and potentially wicked problem. As such, stakeholders such as information technology companies, IT companies, play a more central role through data ownership and access as well as algorithm in modern governance process. Urban governance refers to processes through which citizens and public and private actors collaborate over decisions concerning the implementation and management of urban policies and actions. Within this framework, the level of government influence on urban governance is increasingly determined by its ability to marshal the strategic deployment of urban data. This is pivotal in making sense of the changing face of urban governance and where the place of government would be within that transformation. This is because cities are experiencing socio-technological transition from the level of organization or the chain of organizations to the level of urban system. In its contemporary form, as proposed by Johnston, governance moves beyond the question of how to best manage government institution to how to design smart governance systems beyond government institutions with the appropriate incentives and rules to harness and coordinate the enthusiasm and capabilities of those governed. This is less about strengthening the effectiveness of government institutions and more about government's involvement in building a governance infrastructure, a major part of which depends on the strategic employment of urban data. Now we come to India's flagship program or initiative, which is the Digital India program. The government of India is also promoting digitization. It had launched the Digital India program on 1st July 2015. It is a flagship program of the government of India. Its vision is to transform India into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy. The main vision of this Digital India program was to ensure that government services should be available to citizens electronically by improving digital infrastructure, increasing internet connectivity, and by digitally empowering the country in the field of technology. The Digital India program is the application of ICT, which is Information and Communication Technology, in the processes of government functioning to bring about simple, moral, accountable, responsive, and transparent, which is smart government. The Digital India program brought a rapid development of digital infrastructure, improved universal access through information and communication technology, and digital empowerment of citizens. It has encouraged wider participation of citizens in public affairs, encouraged quick resolution of disputes and conflicts, improved delivery services to citizens, which are hallmark of good governance. It has brought transparency in government operations, downsizing the government workforce, re-engineering of service systems, performance management, and emphasis on delivery of reliable and quick public services. Now let us discuss the various pillars on which the Digital India program is based. Now, the Digital India program plays a pivotal role in the development of the country. It focuses on the development of 9 different thrust areas for inclusive development, which leads to strengthening of the society. The 9 pillars of the programs are: first, the broadband highways. Under this, the networks were integrated with cloud infrastructure in order to offer cloud services and high-speed broadband connectivity services. This includes the development of 3 components of broadband highways, namely national information infrastructure, urban broadband, and rural broadband. Number 2 is mobile connectivity. This includes increasing the penetration of mobile phone networks, establishing a network hub, and providing connectivity to all uncovered rural areas. Third is public internet access. It encompasses the establishment of at least one common service center in each Gram Panchayat and establishment of a post office that will act as a multiple service center. Number 4 is e-governance. It encompasses the development and modification of the governance process in terms of its structure and working procedure with the development of information and communication technology. Number 5 is e-Kranti. It is a national e-governance plan with a vision to ensure government services are accessible electronically to citizens through multiple modes. It is a transformation of the delivery process of services. Number 6 is information to all. With the development of an open access data platform, information of all types is available to everyone through internet penetration. Number 7 is electronic manufacturing. It stresses the promotion of e-manufacturing in the country. Number 8, IT for jobs. Under this, individuals were trained in information technology sectors from towns and villages so that they can earn their livelihood and strengthen the society. Number 9 is Early Harvest Program. It aims to bring digitization into traditional platforms of the Government of India. Now we come to the evolution of digitization. While the Smart City Mission claims to be a noble approach of the urban development, digitization in Indian cities can be traced back to the 1990s, with the mid-2000s seeing an invigorated impetus. Therefore, to understand the trajectory of digitization in urban India and thereby understand the Smart City Mission and NUDM better, it is necessary to briefly discuss the comprehensive urban policies introduced in India prior to 2015. with a coordinated focus on digital technologies and e-governance. These important missions were the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission and the National E-Governance Plan, launched in 2005 and 2006 respectively. Many of the benefits of e-governance and digitizations that are underscored by the Smart City mission, like increased transparency, efficiency, convenience, participation and accountability, were also promised by the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission and the National E-Governance Plan. Like the Smart City mission, the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission was also a mission mode policy. Its core intervention focused on 65 cities, while some of its other projects were designed to be implemented across other smaller cities, towns, and census towns in the country. The central government's funding to cities was conditional on a set of mandatory and non-mandatory reforms. E-governance was one of the mandatory reforms and included the introduction of e-governance services that citizens could access and institutional computerization of urban local bodies. Mainly these services were expected to cover 8 e-governance modules, including birth and death certificates, grievance redressal, accounting, licensing, approvals, and taxes. Similar interventions were mentioned in the National E-Governance Plan, introduced in 2006, with the explicit vision of easing citizens' access to government services. One of the components of the plan, e-municipality, was designed to improve the functioning of the municipalities through greater application of Internet and ICT-enabled Management Information System (MIS) in their everyday work process. The digitization of municipal services, according to the National E-Governance Plan, was to be carried out by the state governments. Learning from state experiences, the National Urban Renewal Mission and the National E-Governance Plan acknowledged the importance of developing digital infrastructure so that more people would have access to Internet, and recognized a need for capacity building among citizens and government officials so that digital services would be used more effectively. Since 2015, the Government of India has introduced a variety of projects that focused on digitization in several sectors ranging from public services to health to entrepreneurship. Some of these have been introduced under the umbrella of the Digital India Initiative, while other initiatives are being developed by different ministries. Nonetheless, the Smart City Mission of 2016 and the National Urban Digital Mission, launched in 2021, are of great importance. The Smart City Mission guidelines, issued in 2015, provides a vague definition of smartness or digitization despite a defined list of core infrastructure element and the smart city features. The competitive process for the finalization of 100 smart cities, the creation of new governance structure in the form of special purpose vehicle, which is also called SPV, inclusion of global consultancy firm, which is GFC, as hand-holding agencies, and project management consultancies, and the funding of area-based development and pan-city projects. Rather than being implemented by the urban local bodies, the guideline made SPV, which is special purpose vehicles, mandatory to roll out the mission. The SPVs have been described as an ad hoc governance structure. The notion of smart city is multifaceted because there exists no single universal way of making a city smart in practice. Different forms of government exist and each embodies certain elements of technology, data, and stakeholders. These stakeholders groups are government institutions, citizens, IT corporations, and different governance strategies imply different permutation of their contribution. CEUD, Citizens Enabled Urban Data, will play an elevated role in the smart city versus the traditional city, and its access and use will be increasingly consequential across different interests in the city. The typology describes the governance of CEUD based on the way that the concept of the city is conceived. There has been the development of different concepts in the way a city is visualized. First, city as a provider. The first and the most common form of data governance is the designation and release of urban data as public good. A part of this data that is generated in relation to public infrastructure, the rationale behind such initiative, commonly referred to as open data initiative, is that releasing such data enables accountability and transparency, facilitates evidence-based decision making, and enables a form of participatory governance. In this conception, the city is the only provider of the data. The data itself can be used by different purposes by the citizens, bodies such as non-governmental organizations, and other private sector. Today, such government-led open data initiatives are ubiquitous at both the urban and the national levels in cities and countries around the world. City as an enabler. An alternate approach is for city managers to provide a unified data marketplace. The concept of an enabler recognizes the local government is not only an entity that has data that is important to the needs of the cities. Much of the urban data is in the control of the private sector, for example, telecommunication platforms and logistics. Semi-state organizations, for example, public transport franchisees, research organizations, and individuals themselves. In this category, data is considered as a commodity and exchanged via the medium of the market therein. While data privacy is still a concern, the main emphasis is on facilitating more efficient use of data by the greater multiplicity of interested parties, potentially leading to more data-driven innovations and to economic growth. Now we come to another perception of the city as a platform. In this approach, city governments seek to develop a network of different providers and users in order to manage a research agenda within the network. Research questions and their answers might be attained through this kind of cloud or semi-cloud environment. Typically, this will be known as a lab. A lab allows cities to bring data providers together in order to answer specific policy issues and questions, and is therefore proactive and managed through formal research governance. Now we come to another conception of the city, which is city as an automated system. A fourth approach is to develop highly automated and intelligent closed system that support both real-time working of the environment and an ongoing process of analysis and learning about the optimization of the environment. The smart environment model is illustrated in the city dashboard concept, but also extends beyond this to higher levels of automation. Effectively, the concept applies wherever sensors and monitoring systems are utilized for the real-time management of a facility or a geographical area. Regulated algorithm might determine many things that potentially have political and economic ramification. For example, who has access to physical space, road space, natural environments, or services? Smart automata will learn through artificial intelligence about issues within their scope. For example, the best movement of emergency vehicles, plant interventions, patterns of lightning, or refuse collection. The data generates the behavior of infrastructure. It can be said that data is infrastructure and needs to be maintained and managed through a formal approach analogous to the way that physical infrastructure itself is managed. This kind of system is necessarily closed since data quality is the key, but the system is also support learning and can be integrated into an overall governance framework alongside the other roles of cities mentioned earlier. New algorithms and storage advances support the collecting, merging, visualizing, and analyzing of massive amount of data. The smart city architecture promoted by IT companies normally relies upon this type of hierarchical arrangement. The closed government structure provides real-time monitoring of all the infrastructure in which it is linked. This comes at the expense of issues such as privacy, ownership, flexibility, and transparency. Now we come to the relationship between digital governance and good governance. Now, good governance is fundamental in nature, whereas digital governance is instrumental. Digital governance is the tool used for enhancing and strengthening the economy and empowering the citizens. No e-governance initiative and tool can be effective until some reform in the functional procedures of government are carried out for its fruitful results. Good governance dictates the layout of the plans, shapes of digital governance. Digital governance can be an effective and efficient tool for good governance if and only if some process reforms have been carried out. Simply, making the government processes digital can also create some technical and complex problem rather than being solving the other institutional problems. With the advent of business process re-engineering and for effective implementation of e-governance plan, the information system should regulate and be capable itself enough to reach to the common man and help the government to avail services to both citizens and other stakeholders with the changing needs and demands of the society. Good governance refers to an ideal situation where governments use to manage its affairs and resources in such a manner that meets the needs of the society. According to the United Nations E-Governance Development Index 2020, Denmark holds the first rank with a near-perfect e-governance index score or rating of 0.9756, whereas India was on the 100th rank with an EGDI score of 0.5964. The EDGI assessment is based on three components: Online Service Index, Telecommunication Infrastructure Index, and Human Capital Index. The advantages in information and communication technology brought by Digital India program have transformed the relationship between government and citizens and businesses in new ways and are leading towards good governance. The Digital India program is providing the opportunity to people by involving them in the process of governance at all levels. Better service have been provided to citizens in terms of quality and timeline. Thus, it helps in making governance more efficient and effective, leading towards good governance. With this, we come to the conclusion of the discussion. The transition to a digital era governance of cities is tied to the strategic utilization of urban data. The arrangement of urban data underpins each kind of smart city initiatives and it's fundamental to it. The planning of smart city initiatives starts with envisioning the emerging forms of governance of a given city and the choices of citizen-enabled urban data arrangements. The smart city initiatives have only come into existence as a result of big data technology bundles that can process massive amount of urban data. The outcome of smart city initiatives determined by the city's context and its vision for the future. With this, we come to the end of our discussion. Thank you.